ready?
Got open man. DJ Moore. End zone. Touchdown. Touchdown Bears.
I am Jeff Joniak.
Blitz is on. Down he goes. Brisker.
What was it like playing for Coach Ditka?
I don't want to answer any questions like that.
Pressure coming. He's in big trouble. Down he goes. Montez Sweat.
And
Now, Bears Etc. brought to you by Miller Lite with the voices of the Bears, Jeff Joniak and Tom Thayer.
Well, it's funny to me. We have the regular season. We've got the business season. We've got the off season. We got the draft season. And now we have the grading, the draft season. Soon to be followed by the schedule release, OTA mini camps, and, of course, training camp. And we started all over again with Super Bowl winning Bears guard Tom Thayer. I'm Jeff Joniak. Welcome to episode 142 of the Bears Etc. podcast. We're brought to you by Miller Lite. I start that way, Tom, because it's now midweek as we tape this, and the grades are still pouring in. There was actually a website that put together a conglomerate of every grade from every possible person that does the draft, analysts out there, podcasters, whatever, and then gave a composite score of everybody's draft, and it ranged from A to F. But I always find that an exercise in futility. I never quite understood the incessant need to grade every team's draft A to F because, hey, let's be honest, entity A as a player ranked in the top 100, they pick him at 140, all of a sudden that's a value pick. You got another team drafts a guy a lot higher than he was great. Now that's a bad pick. They're not getting value. Bad choice. You could have had player C, on and on and on. I get it. It's all fun. But after a while, it gets to me. It's just, you won't know for 3 years. You really won't.
Yeah, but since the beginning of this draft, since we started evaluating talent and looking at what the Bears needed, I don't care about who was picked where and what. Did they pick what the Bears needed? And I think when you go back and you look at this draft, they went along the lines of needs after the free agency period, and they brought in experienced offensive linemen, high-motivated defensive linemen, and then where else do they need some, like a 1-2 punch?
Yeah.
1-2 punch is the two tight ends. You need guys that are going to fit the plan of Coach Hightower on the special teams, and they've been able to do that. They brought in a wide receiver that can elevate the receiver room, even though they have guys like DJ and Rome. So I like what Ben Johnson and Dennis Allen have worked alongside Ryan Poles and brought together guys that are needed to develop over time.
And coming up, we'll be listening to a sit-down with Colston Loveland, the Bears' number one choice out of Michigan at the number 10 pick. Delightful young 21-year-old man, and very excited to be a Chicago Bear. We brought this up on our Fox Sports NFL draft recap with Luke Canellis the other night. I brought it up, and it's the strength of the NFC North. It's unescapable right now. It's an unescapable fact. It's rugged. Yes, the AFC West is powerful as well. I added up all the records of the divisions, Tom, and the NFC North had the best record in football last year at 45-23. The AFC West also had 40, but nobody. It's just different. It's the physicality component. It's what teams are. It is a reflection of the AFC North. Same thing. They did very well as well. You'd think about it. We talked about it last year, rugged divisions. But they doubled down on the rugged part, at the line of scrimmage offensively, on the defensive side of the ball, both in free agency and in the draft. That tells me something.
Yeah, you're exactly right. It is a physical division, and I think it's only going to get more talented and more physical as time goes on. Because when you have a guy like Ben Johnson that moves from the Detroit Lions to the Chicago Bears, we've seen a lot of Ben Johnson from the work we do evaluating an opponent. But now you have time to listen to Ben Johnson speak at the microphone. And to me, I really believe he's a no-nonsense guy. And he's about inter-team competition that's going to make you more competitive in the NFL schedule and your division. So I'm really excited to see what we knew of him, but what we're learning about him. And when they get on the field and they start going to work and then it evolves into pads and training camp, I think it's going to be a working atmosphere that some of these guys have never seen before.
Just in the draft alone, the four teams added 12 pieces to the line of scrimmage, either side of the ball. I'd have to go through the task in free agency, but we both know every team did it. Vikings did it, Bears did it. So to me, it's just getting ready, putting the armor on, getting ready. They're going to run the ball. You got young quarterbacks, except for Jared Goff, who's in the highlight of his career right now in a wheelhouse. See what happens now without Ben Johnson there. But it just seems to me these teams are going to be really – I can't wait to see the schedule and how it all stacks up. The league obviously puts the division games more towards the middle of the end of the year. Maybe they'll sneak one in September. But it's get ready for that finish and start knocking out wins right away because it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a tough division.
Like last year, you said the season where it really wasn't going to start until week 11 when they started playing division games. But I like the fact that within the division, all the teams didn't deny the importance of the offense and defensive line. And when you look at a young Caleb Williams that's learning a new system, a J.J. McCarthy that hasn't started a game yet, a guy who's really talented but slowing down in Jared Goff, and then still kind of figuring how Jordan Love is going to fit in the big picture for the Green Bay Packers. The reason that they're all going to be successful or challenged is because of the offense and defensive line performance. And, the Bears and Ryan Poles and his staff went and made some really experienced choices up front that could help Caleb the most. They know what they have in the developing Darnell Wright. Now they figure out what they're going to do at left tackle. But every team in our division, like you said, they didn't deny that there was need for upfront power, help, and depth.
We're brought to you by PNC, official bank of the Bears. And I'm thinking you really just got to do it every year. You got to just add reinforcements. And if you have an overabundance of players at a spot, so be it, because we all talk about what the degradation over the course of a season that happens, and either performance-related or injury-related, it's acute. That's why a team like Philadelphia just keeps on pouring it in on the defensive side of the ball. Offense, they draft high, they draft well, and they pay their guys. Cam Jurgens getting an extension. They sweeten the pot for the right tackle. Lane Johnson, he's in his, I think it's year 35. His age 35 year.
Age 35, not year 35.
No, but they just draft, develop, which is what Ryan Poles wants to do. That was his stated goal when he got the job. Let's listen to the first round pick, Colston Loveland. This was at Hallis Hall right after his arrival with his family. They were in awe of the place. It was pretty cool to see brothers just enjoying the moment. Basically, when you're drafted to the NFL, as you were, Tom, you bring your family along with you. You go for the ride. And that happens nowadays with first-round picks, and they bring their whole family. So let's listen in. Colston Loveland. Welcome to Chicago, number one.
Thank you.
Are you just jazzed up right now and excited? Tell me about how you're feeling.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never been here. Got to see all the coaches and everything, meeting everyone. Everyone's super nice in the building. I feel like this is a good place to call home for sure.
Isn't it like a Hall of Fame? The Bears' own there's history everywhere. Everywhere you're gonna go.
Reminds me of Michigan. A lot like, obviously it's different, but a lot like Michigan.
Yeah. All right, so take us back to the call. What was your immediate response?
Yeah, it was a little unexpected for sure. Like, it was in this private room talking with my agent, and we're like, and then boom, I had two phones on me. One with no one had the number except NFL teams. I was like, that one started ringing. Illinois. All right. It was Ryan called. He's like, hey, it's Ryan Poles. Come on now. I was super excited. It was, can't even describe how I felt when I got that call.
It probably won't sink in for a while, right?
Yeah. I don't know if it's hit yet.
So now that this call comes in, and now it is the charter franchise. This is where it all began. George Hallis, the statue out in front.
Mm-hmm.
Does that resonate with you, this kind of franchise to be with?
Yeah, no, it does. And the fan base, the organization, everything about it, like you said, we're talking about the history, tradition, that means a lot. And I'm just trying to help, bring us back to 85, go win some games, go win a Super Bowl. So I appreciate the fact that you know that history, right?
Yeah. Not even born yet at that time. Walk us through the last 24 hours then, from getting the call, arriving here, and then who have you had a chance to meet, and what are your first impressions of the facility?
Yeah, so got drafted, came out here, left at 9, pretty quick, got here, met really everyone, I feel like. Shout out to the ladies making smoothies downstairs. They're super nice too. They are really nice. Everyone is really nice, but yeah, no, I feel like I was saying, I feel like this is a good place to call home. Met up with all the coaches. Coach Johnson, I chopped it up for a while, which is cool. I'm going to meet with Ryan here soon, so that'd be nice. But, no, yeah, I love everything about it. First time here, obviously, and like I said, it's home.
Yeah, that was my next question. How do you assess your interactions with Ryan on the phone and, you know, maybe during the scouting process? And then, of course, Ben, Coach Johnson's got a lot of juice, energy. So
Yeah, he does.
You got to match that and surpass that, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just tell me about those interactions.
No, yeah, I love it. So I met with them. I had a meeting with them at Combine, but at Pro Day is when it was like they had everyone at Pro Day. It was probably like an hour and a half meeting and install, watching tape, breaking everything down. And I felt really good about that one. I loved the energy I was getting from Coach Johnson, Coach Dre, Ryan, everyone. And so I kind of had a little idea, but then like to be here now and to see how fired up they are about the pick and how fired up I am about the pick, it's super cool, and I feel like we're gonna mesh well for sure.
And Ben, obviously, elite football mind.
Elite.
And what I understand is you have a very much the same caliber understanding of football. There is a scouting quality to football intelligence. Do you feel you have that?
Yeah. I think my football intelligence is pretty high. I don't know where that comes from, whether that's just kind of you're born with it or you just kind of get it out as time goes, but I'd say it's pretty high, but it can definitely get higher. And being around a guy like Coach Johnson, that's the best way to do it.
How do you see your skill complementing what is already here? And we don't know exactly how it's all going to look. Players don't even know yet with the new staff and whatnot, but just complementing that tight end group and certainly Cole Kmet.
Yeah, he's a stud, and I think it's going to be great just learning from him and seeing how he moves, figuring out his routine, just kind of watching, see how to move here. But I feel like the game's getting to more 12 personnel, more 2 tight ends, throwing defenses in a loop. You're playing nickel, base, what do we do? So having 2 tight ends that can do everything, true 3-down tight ends, I think that just throws defenses in a bind. So I think it's going to look really good.
He's Cole, but, you're Colston, so do you go by Cole, or is that over with now?
Well, yeah, I actually do. My family, everyone calls me Cole, so it'll probably have to be over with. It'll be Colston.
It's going to naturally, organically happen.
Yep.
They're going to call you something. They're going to call you something.
No doubt.
You've played in some big moments at such a big school, national champion, Michigan. How do you think that experience prepares you for what's ahead?
Yeah, I think obviously it's different. There's levels to it, and the NFL is different. But I think that's as close as you can get for sure, being at the college stage, playing the game, Rose Bowl, national championship. So blessed to be able to do those, and I think it's going to help for sure. Just the pressure moments and the bigger moments coming in the league.
Coach Harbaugh text you by chance, because he's an ex-Bear now.
Yeah,
as you know.
Yeah, he is. He hasn't talked to me. I don't know if he's hit me up after the draft, but he did talk to me before, and he was just wishing all was well and everything was good.
What kind of goals do you have? Are you a goal-setting person? Are you at liberty to share with us what they might be?
Yeah, I like to normally keep my goals to myself, but yeah, I think just right now, like initially, my thoughts are coming here, create relationships, earn respect, earn trust with my teammates, the coaches, everyone, and build that relationship so we can actually get some things going. And yeah, just put my head down, working, do whatever I'm asked to do, and win games.
Have you heard from teammates yet?
Yeah, actually, Caleb FaceTimed me after I got drafted, and then Cole reached out. He texted me. Just saying, hey, wish all the best, congrats, let's get to work, let's go win games. So
how about J.J. McCarthy? Because he's a Chicago guy.
He is a Chicago guy.
Up,
yeah.
And your former quarterback. But by virtue of the Bears doing their due diligence in scouting Caleb and all the other quarterbacks last year, there became a familiarity with this big 6'6", nearly 6'6" tight end from Idaho.
Yep.
So you got to thank JJ for that too. But isn't it interesting? Like you always have to be. It's a perfect lesson of. You never know who's watching when.
Exactly.
Right? You weren't ready to go into the NFL just then, but you were getting scouted. You didn't even know it.
Yeah, without even getting scouted, like you said, watching JJ, and then it's like, oh, who's this kid catching all these balls? So yeah, it was shout out to JJ for sure.
This is crazy, but prior to last night, there had only been 5 tight ends drafted in the first round over the last 8 years, and there's 2 of you last night. Is that
is crazy.
In addition to your talent, and the traits that you guys bring to the table now, is it a sign of the times in college football, the passing games, the spread, whatever the case may be, Some colleges using 12 personnel, just the different influences of college that is the natural transition to the NFL.
Yeah, I think so. And like you can just kind of see like the tight end market just keeps climbing and climbing. Like I said, like more teams are wanting more tight ends on the field playing because it puts defenses in a bind. So I think that's something we're seeing at the college level. And then I mean, if you do like what you do in the college level, it's hard for a team not to take it in the first round. So as long as you just do what you can do, I feel like that's. But I think we're going to see some more in the next couple of years for sure.
All right, last one. I'm pretty certain that there's not a player on this roster at the moment that has a history of branding calves and putting up wire fencing like you did in Gooding, Idaho, right?
Yep.
Tell me about that, and how did it shape you for your football life?
Yeah, did a lot of it for sure for grandparents, aunts, uncles. They all had a bunch of land and a bunch of cows, so we were always doing something. I feel like just kind of growing up around that and seeing how hard those people work, and it's just work. It's all it is. The blue collar mindset, you could say, and just growing up around and being around that definitely helped me. I think on the football field, and just it's similar. Just work hard, do what you're supposed to do at the best of your ability. And I think that definitely helped shape me, and I think it's going to continue to shape me for sure.
Congratulations again.
Thank
Best
you
of
so
luck.
much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, I always ask you for your impression because, first you got to do the listening of how he sounds and how comfortable he is, how mature he is, and then dig into what he has to say. And what are your thoughts? Because I have a few as well. Again, it's just 21 years old.
At the very beginning, you asked him about the draft night and the whole process, and he talked about how he had two phones, and he had one phone that only the teams in the NFL had the number 2. Well, we had a landline at my house. Jim Finks called. My sister Annette answered, and she said, "Hey, Jim Finks is on the phone. The Bears just drafted you." That's the way the draft process went for us. We weren't anywhere celebrating anything. We were at home, and they had our number, so anybody could have called us, and they might have gotten a busy signal. But the whole draft process for a young man like that, and you have your team, your family, your team at your home team, your family surrounding you, waiting for that big moment. And when it's unpredictable, but you're assuming, and his best assumptions came to life. That phone rang. Hey, it's Ryan Poles, the Chicago Bears. We're drafting you. And just think about how your head starts spinning after that point. A million different decisions. Oh, my God, here I am in Idaho. Now I'm going to Chicago. I just came from Michigan. Now I'm going to go to a team that had the Rookie of the Year, Mike Ditka, the best tight end in history, the first tight end in the Hall of Fame. And then you talk about him getting to Hallis Hall for the first time. And going to Hallis Hall, for me, 250 North Washington. It was a small building with a 100-yard field and a 40-yard field. Then you think about what you're exposed to when you get in the building, how friendly the people were, the girls that made the smoothies downstairs, how nice they are. Just all the things that a kid, like you said, that's 21 years old is running through his mind, but it started 24 hours ago, and it's not going to stop for, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months? And we talked about Rome Adunze about that the draft night, about from the time you finish your college season, all the preparations, and then once that season's over, that's your first chance to rest. And Colston's not going to get a chance to rest until the season's over.
Yeah, how do you feel about that since you lived it? You lived it you went USFL and played, 2 full seasons and a Super Bowl win. I mean, it's the love of the game, one, but it's got to be mentally fatiguing, let alone physically fatiguing, especially while you won. So, I mean, maybe it wasn't.
Now, it was an awesome experience for me, but you also kind of never lose sight of the people behind you that are counting on you. And I'm not talking about your teammates. I'm talking about your family. And then it kind of amps the pressure up a little bit because everything they're going to do here and cheer about for the next, hopefully 10 years is all about Colston. And so I think he's a guy that I really like his attitude because he's not blowing anything out of proportion. He understands the reality of it. And so I'm excited to see how his career moves along.
You know, even commenting on the women that make the smoothies at Hallis Hall, and that he is right. They are very nice people, always pleasant. However, just to bring that up out of nowhere tells me a lot. Raised right, gets it, because we often say, and this, I'm not a fan of how he says things, Cam Newton, but he said something the other day. I don't know if you saw it. If I find it, I'm going to send it to you. You can't air it because it's filled with expletives, but it was in relation to Shedeur Sanders and just draft picks in general. Do you not? Basically, his message is, when they say they do work on you, they're doing work on you. They're going to every person they could possibly find that could tell you something that will enhance you as a prospect or derail you as a prospect. They want to know the answers to the questions before they ask the player. So they're going to go talk to your old girlfriend. They're going to go talk to the people in the kitchen at Texas A&M or wherever you may have played football. They're going to go to the bars that you may have hung out at in college. Hey, did you behave? They're going to. So get that off your radar. It's going to happen because this is a big job. It's a big job interview with a major investment. And sometimes he says things that make me scratch my head, but boy, he nailed it. He had the scouting process and the process that every team goes through to a T, because they're investigating everybody. They're investigating you from the time you went to grade school. Trust me. It's just a matter of fact.
I'm surprised that of everything that I've looked and read and heard about Colston, and no one has talked about that wall behind him in the draft room. And you see those elks mounted on the wall.
No, someone did. It's his uncle's place.
Right. But this is what I would like to know, because I grew up in a family of hunters, and we ate wild game when I was growing up. I would like to know, throughout the course of his life on a farm, the different types of things as a family, and as when you survive with grandma and grandpas and aunts and uncles that have those farms, you eat other things other than the elk that are up on the wall. I would like to know what, as a kid, the different things that he ate just like I did.
It'd probably make me squirm, because some of the things that you ate, I couldn't do it. I give you credit. I don't know what.
Well, I mean, it's a big family, and you're surviving, and that's part of the upbringing of that era of my mom and dad. And so I would like to hear what he went through.
Wasn't that Xavier Worthy? Who's that player? I can't remember now. Last year, he's from down to the south. They were eating some crazy things, and he was telling people what he was eating, and it was kind of hard to literally and figuratively digest. This podcast is brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. So George Kittle just passed Trey McBride of Arizona with an NFL record payday. 4 years, $76.4 million. It's about 19.1 annual average. McBride, the young player from Arizona, at 19. Then, in order, Travis Kelce, T.J. Hawkinson, Dallas Goedert, Mark Andrews. The latter two there were thought to be on the trade block and still yet me dealt. David Njoku of Cleveland. Cole Kmet checks in at number 8 at $12.5 million on average. Pat Freiermuth from Pittsburgh. Dalton Schultz of Houston. They're not just pure blockers. You got to do a little bit of both, but we talk about the passing game and the age of the passing game and the impact of all these receivers, but I hesitate to forget about the impact of the tight ends, owning the middle of the field, your red zone weapons, third down weapons, moving the chains. Every catch you make is a first down on average. I mean, the significance of having Cole and Colston and how they're going to play off of one another. We discussed this before, the matchups they're going to create for Ben Johnson, or that Ben Johnson will create for them, and Caleb Williams, two big targets that you can't miss. They're going to have a size advantage 90% of the time on who's defending them on the back end. And I just see big things happening for both of them, and it's reflected in the amount of money that's being invested in these tight ends.
Well, Colston brought that up in your interview with him about how do you defend the two tight ends of Cole and Colston. It was funny when you were talking to him about his family, how they call him Cole. But now at 21 years old, they're going to have to change the way they talk to him, and it's back to the formal Colston. But he understands their role and the importance and the difficulty of matching up against the two of them. And they're not only inline blockers anymore. Now they're probably one of the most versatile offensive pieces that there is in the NFL these days. And then you think about the transition. You know, Dave Casper was an offensive tackle at Notre Dame in college, and then he became a Hall of Fame tight end in his career. You have other guys that were offensive tackles in college, became tight ends, and you had tight ends that became offensive tackles. So the position nowadays is very specific to the multiple needs that you have to have for a tight end. And right now, you look at the Bears tight end room, they have a group of some of the best tight ends in the division and in the league.
Yeah, Durham Smythe added. He's an inline guy for the most part. Stephen Carlson, whom we liked last year at training camp. This is a very serious player and a guy that will be in the mix as well at tight end. So a lot of good things. Now, you know, we can talk about Luther Burden III. How's this player? I mean, I'm sure you've dipped into some tape here and watched some things about what he brings to the table, the dynamic yak. There's so many different comparisons that are being made about who he can be. I look at a similar body type to a DJ Moore, but others have brought into the mix a player like Deebo Samuel, but you can do a lot of things with him. But the make you miss, the vertical speed, the fluidity are all on the table. Just going back and watching him evading tackles, forcing missed tackles with the ball in his hand. So I liken this to, okay, so Ben Johnson talked about yak so much. Got to have run after the catch, got to have yards after the catch. So DJ's a tackle breaker. Luther Burden is a tackle misser, tackle breaker. Cole Kmet with a head of steam is hard to bring down to the ground.
Right.
Colston Loveland looks physical at the point of the catch and will be hard to bring down as well, chopping down that lumber. Roma Dunze, I mean, all these guys have a physical component that really excites me. I think it's going to bring the house down at Soldier Field when they're breaking tackles for big plays.
I agree. You know, one thing about Luther Burden, it seems like he has eyes in the back of his head because he's the type of guy while the ball's in the air, he's already thinking about how he's going to make the first defender missed and then how that's going to add extra yards to the catch. And I like everything I've seen out of him. He's a super talented receiver. He's a fast twitch receiver. It does really good job of running deceptive combo routes to one side of the field or the other. And I think when you have a guy like DJ and Rome already, that he's only going to make the offense more versatile. He's going to, add to the, 3 receiver sets with multiple tight ends on the field. And like we've seen DJ run out of the backfield, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point this year we see Luther lining up in the backfield.
And now we have not discussed this, but let's also highlight Olamide Zaccheaus because this is a tough receiver. Right. He's no nonsense. He's going to dig you out. He's going to block you. He's going to make some nice catches. He had a great year last year in Washington with that quarterback. So Devin Duvernay as a potential return candidate and a 5th type of wide receiver. Tyler Scott still aboard. It's going to be interesting. There's a whole different cachet of talent here. And we're going to, over the course of the next several weeks, we'll touch on all these guys, but we'll finish out with the second rounders, and then I got to bring up something on the back end of the draft here. But as you've digested Ozzie Trapillo and his 6'8" frame, added to the mix to compete for a starting job at the tackle position, either side of the fence, where has those thoughts taken you? I know you mentioned the comparison to Dan Skipper in terms of size and potential usage as a 6th attacker, as a blocker and such, and as a pass receiver for that matter, because Skipper's caught those. What have you learned? What have you learned from thinking about it and watching some stuff on Ozzie Trapillo?
He's a committed football player. He's not a guy that's looking for what's my next best opportunity and option. His best opportunity and option is to come to the Chicago Bears camp and then start competing for a starting position. And if they find out that he's such a dominant right tackle that maybe you got to plug him in there and you got to go to work and then explore what Darnell Wright is capable of at the left side or vice versa. I think Dan Rochard, the new offensive line coach, he's got enough experience that if he says, this guy is undeniably one of our best 6 or 7 offensive linemen that's competing on a daily basis, then you're going to have to explore every option for him. And I'm not excluding offensive guard because I've seen guys have done it before back in the hog type of days. The Washington Redskins at that time, they had big offensive guards playing inside there. And so I just think when you have a guy that is that talented, you got to figure out a way for him to earn opportunities on the field. And that's why I keep bringing up Dan Skipper, because I think when you have multiple 6 offensive lineman sets, damn, he could go in there almost immediately and give you power on the outside where you can use him as a point of attack or you can use him as a deceptive backside. And he did play a little tight end in his background, like you said. And so there's always going to be that concern is what is Ben Johnson going to do to trick me with in the weirdest of ways.
Yeah, some unbalanced lines. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, all that's on the table with Ben. Also, I have a lot of respect from the information I've gathered on Dan Rochar to have the right teaching tools and ability to connect with his guys to get the most out of that offensive line. So I think you would agree on that one. I can't wait till you guys get more time together talking about things because wealth of experience. This is not a young offensive line. This guy has been around a bit. He's in his 60s. He's coached at various levels. Great time with the New Orleans Saints with an outstanding offensive line during his time there, and then also in the college game.
Listen, he coached my nephew. I have other offensive line coaches in the NFL that have reached out to me to tell me what a good coach he is in terms of technique and fundamentals and what offensive linemen need preached to them every single day if you're in the first year of the career or you're in the 10th year of your career. So I am looking to see how he takes this big ball of bodies and molds them into an offensive line. And then for us, let's hope the pieces that he puts in place can stay there for a long period of time.
Right.
That can help Caleb, this offense, and Ben.
And the sooner the better. Obviously, we don't know about Braxton Jones or when he'll be able to begin practicing. And you'd like to have things really headed into training camp rare and ready to go and not doing a ton of experimenting, I would think. You would like to get those guys, whoever the 5 are, playing together as rapidly as possible and as many practice reps and time on task together to solidify that. You don't want to – I wouldn't think you want to go right up until the first week of the season and we're still trying to figure out who's going to play where.
Well, as we sit here in late April 2025 and Ben said there is no depth chart, but if we talked about the offensive line, we know 4 of the 5 that are going to line up on the first play.
Yeah.
And everything is – the evaluation of Braxton, Karam Amagazi, Trapillo, everybody who's a candidate for that left tackle position, that's where Dan's going to have to work probably the most in order to figure out who wins that opportunity.
Are aches, pains, or injuries keeping you on the sidelines? Athletico's movement experts are here to help you turn your setbacks into comebacks and create a personalized game plan for your recovery. With no prescription or referral needed, Athletico Physical Therapy is where your comeback story begins. Athletico, proud to be the official physical therapy partner of the Chicago Bears. A word on Amagaji. As we sit here and the evaluation that people may have had of him last year, I say, let's dismiss it.
That's unfair.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited because he's a committed player. He loves the game. He wants to be something special, okay? He's a very smart guy. He's got gifts, physically, God-given gifts, the size, the athleticism, and as a third-round pick, that's a high pick. And to develop him in some fashion where it is guard or tackle, whatever they decide to do, I'm excited about that piece as well because he's going to have a clean runway now. Hoping that he's 100% healthy, I'm assuming he is, he's going to have a runway he didn't have last year at all.
in a lot of different ways, he's going to have a runway that he didn't have last year because, you think about it is if he's playing a position where he has an experienced veteran next to him, you don't understand how much that can do for you as a developing player. When I came to the Bears and Horn and Hilge were both in place for a period of time, you could talk so much football with these guys that they could speed up your thinking process, months in advance. So I think when you get a guy like Karanamagaji who's talking to a player like Joe Thuney, who is an all-pro, multiple-year Super Bowl winning offensive guard, but he's also played offensive tackle. So there's a lot of conversation that it's not only going to be through Dan Rochar. Sometimes it's going to be to the guy playing to the right and to the left of you.
All right, let's talk Shamar Turner, Tom. Texas A&M second-round pick number 62. Explosive three technique. He's all about a bundle of being an energy bundle, and he's fiery, and he's going to have to pull it in games a little bit, I would imagine, but I think training camp's going to be fire with him. Now, DeMarcus Walker was like that. Other players that we've had, Akeem Hicks was like that. Back in the day, if my memory serves correctly, Ted Washington and Keith Traylor were like that against Olin and Roberto Garza and the fellas. In between, I know we've had some others that really wound people up, got them stirred up, got the blood up. All in the name of just we're going to be a tough football team. We're gonna make some noise. We're gonna have a little swagger on the defensive side of the ball. Granted, he's just a rookie, but I feel he plays one way. This is how he's going to play.
It's going to be fun to sit there and watch one-on-ones because that's always the great competition of training camp and full pads. But I don't think we're going to see the best until you see preseason game reps and the regular season, because the way this guy tackles, he tackles with a violence that he wants that body to hit the ground hard. And it's going to be the ground, the opponent, and him on top of you. And so when I go and I watch these highlights, his intentions at the tackling point is physical, quick, and hard. And so, like I said, they're not going to allow him to tackle his own teammates.
Right.
But when he gets a chance to get some reps in those early games in the regular season, I think that's when we're going to see the best out of him.
All right. I've only seen a few, but I'm going to spend some time, even today, looking up and seeing what I can find on Kyle Monangai, the Rutgers running back, a little bit over 5'8". He's a bowling ball back, durable, reliable, the no fumbles and 700-plus snaps, twice a captain, scrapes for yards, plays special teams, a tractor beam to the hole. These are all scouting lines and signatures of who the player is. But have you watched his pass protection stuff?
Yep.
Wow. Initiating the contact, blowing people up with a purpose. Tom.
I wish that we could get head coach Greg Schiano on the podcast with us at some point for 10 or 15 minutes, because a lot of people, Bears fans, they probably don't remember Greg Schiano and they don't know him, but this dude is serious. He's hardball serious. And if you don't come up and live up to his expectations, his work ethic, and what he expects out of you and your ability, you're not going to play for him. Greg Schiano is one of the strictest and toughest coaches in college football. And I think this guy and Hippo have benefited for playing for a guy like that. And that's why they're both coming to an NFL camp for, to put what they've learned on display.
Yeah, Ruben Hippolyte from Maryland, also a traits player, as they say, 4.42 speed, would have led all the linebackers at the combine, and a guy that'll hit you as well. And excited about seeing him as well as Zay Frazier. Excited to see him about Zay Frazier, the long corner at 6'3". I like big corners. I keep thinking of Peanut Tillman. The length matters.
Right.
It erases some distance and it takes away some of the speed element if you can get your hands on him, and that's what's going to be asked.
But he still ran a 4.3.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying. Yeah, speed on the other side gets muted if they put a hand in your chest and you got to set and go. And then Luke Newman of Michigan State durable and strong with the 29 reps at the combine. So I'm thinking this guy, it's important to him, and I can't wait to see what you think about him as well. These are all players that I'm excited to see in addition to what we brought in. I think it's going to be a fun training camp. Hey, Bears fans, Steinhoffels is a proud partner of the Chicago Bears and now open in Orland Park. Steinhoffels is Chicagoland's furniture and mattress leader with the largest selection to fit every style and budget and is 100% employee-owned. Shop in-store and online at steinhoffels.com. All right, I got to bring this up to wrap this up. This is a site called All Access Football. Rick Saratella has been a long-time draft guy, does a great job. If you would have asked me this, I would have failed. I don't know how this is possible, but he said in the week 1 last year, there were 486 undrafted players on NFL rosters. Does that sound right to you?
Yeah.
Okay. So the average makes it more about 15 players a team. We often think of only the undrafteds that are in our face right now. The Bears have a collection of them. They'll be at rookie minicamp here in a week. And more than likely, some of those guys are going to make the team. But there have been guys that have made teams. TJ Edwards, that you forget that he wasn't drafted. When Jack Sanborn is here, he didn't play like an undrafted player. He played like a draft pick. So, but more to this now. So 12% of the week 1 starters in the NFL last year, undrafted. 15 have been inducted to the Pro Football Hall of Fame that were undrafted. And without 17 rounds of a draft, you'd have a lot more that would be considered undrafted, in today's world of 7 rounds. So on any given year, undrafted players consist of approximately 20% of each NFL roster. Now, there are some cost savings there by having an undrafted player. They get a minimum salary, so that helps with the salary cap. And then it would increase to 40% of NFL rosters when you throw in practice squad players. So hats off to the undrafteds, the guys who teams didn't think had the pedigree to be a draft pick, or there's too many good players at one position. We're going to just double down and get some undrafted guys in here to increase the competition. Those guys give themselves a great opportunity because they're hungry. They're not paid yet, as you like to say. They give their full effort. They're never going to take it for granted. It never leaves them. Heck, you're still mad you were a 4th-round pick. I mean, this was very enlightening to me. I never took the time to delve into something like that, but here's to all the undrafted players that are going to be at rookie minicamps, the guys that are going to get tryouts to hopefully be an undrafted player on the training camp roster, but they're all over the league, and they'll be at Hallis Hall, too, next week.
Listen, they're the hungriest, most disciplined guys from the moment they come aboard to the end of their career. And the undrafted free agents that I played with, Jay Hilgenberg, who should be a Hall of Famer, just an incredibly talented guy in his prime, probably the best center in the National Football League next to Dwight Stevenson from the Miami Dolphins. And the other free agents that we've got to broadcast for along the line, like Big Cat Williams. Just an amazing, dedicated group of men. They are never late. You don't have to ask them to be on time. You don't have to tell them where to be. You don't have to wonder if they're going to be in full pads or not in that day of practice. It's a legitimate group of competitors that are probably as alpha in their existence as any other player in the locker room because they got more on the line.
And they're always living on the edge. They're more than likely to be on a series of 1-year contracts over successive years. It's really quite interesting in the levels of which an NFL team is built and the hierarchy and how it's all put together to build one good, architecturally sound winning program. All right, Tom, I think I've exhausted my notebook. I had one more as non-Bears related. Can I just throw it at you?
Yeah.
I found this interesting because what do you think of Geno Smith? He's now with the Vegas Raiders, because I'm going to give you some numbers about him since 2022 in the NFC.
Listen, I thought he was done. I thought he was on his way out of football. I thought he was going to be a career backup or maybe, some other exploratory quarterbacks outside of Geno. He's not really a reclamation project. He just finally clicked with the right staff and the right offense. and I really like what the guy has been able to redevelop into.
In the NFC since 2022, so the last 3 years, he is second in passing yards, third in completion percentage at 67.4%, sixth in passing yards per game, third in passing touchdowns with 50, and fifth in lowest interception percentage. I'd say that's a definition of underrated. Nicely done by Geno Smith.
Underrated but redeveloped.
Yeah.
Because like I said, he kind of flourished he kind of failed on a couple of opportunities, and then he flourished in the perfect opportunity. And then he just got a extension this year for the Los Angeles Raiders, and we'll see him out there this year. So,
Vegas Raiders. Once the Los Angeles Raiders. And the Oakland Raiders.
Did I say Los Angeles?
Yeah, you did.
Shame on me.
It happens, Tom.
No,
it
Las
happens.
Vegas Raiders, yes. And, that's I really applaud Geno Smith for what he's been able to recover.
All right, Tom, you're in Hawaii now, hitting the water. Have you taken the board out yet? Testing.
Yeah,
you took a spin on that new knee?
I did. I surfed. I was surfing yesterday morning, and I got video of him. Sent him to the doctor who did my surgery just to let him know what he did for me is already at work.
Wow. What was the fear factor, if I may ask? On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst.
There was no fear. It was more of popping to your feet and make sure that you have that stability. No, I was super encouraging, really.
Nice.
It just kind of gave me a new lease on life, just like Geno Smith.
Yeah. Well, hey, the water, it speaks to you like the Ryan Poles draft board, buddy.
That's right.
Well, have fun. We'll talk to you on Thursday night on Bears Weekly on ESPN 1000 on the Bears Radio Network. This podcast brought to you by the official beer partner of your Chicago Bears. Tastes like Miller Time, Chicago. Go to MillerLite.com/BearsPod to find delivery options near you. Celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 96 calories and 3.2 carbs per 12 ounces. That's going to do it for us. Special thanks to Colston Loveland. For Tom Thayer, I'm Jeff Joniak. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please subscribe now on the Chicago Bears official app, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Bear down, everybody.